guys, welcome to TST Garage. I'm Bart, and today in this video I'll be showing you how to install the TST Industries Brake Light Modulator on your bike. Now, a brake light modulator, sometimes called a strobe, sometimes called a brake light flasher, what it does is basically enables you to install some electronics on your bike so that when you press your brakes, the brake light flashes in some kind of pattern and alerts the drivers behind you that you will be stopping. Our particular brake light modulator comes pre-wired to a plug that interfaces with a sub harness that we provide specific to your bike model that enables plug-and-play functionality with your bike. So that means that the installation is really fast and you can do it yourself. Now, the electronics inside, we do have the ability for you to program this unit to 3 different functions and then subsequently adjust the rate of the effect to your liking. Our first programmable mode is strobe alert. This mode will produce 9 flashes and then stay solid for the duration of the brake engagement. Second one is intermittent pulsar. Each cycle will flash 10 times and then pause, and then these cycles will repeat for the duration of the brake engagement. The last available option is pulsar, and this one just basically provides continuous flashing for the duration of the brake engagement. Now we'll show you how to install this. It's really simple, and then after the installation chunk, I will show you in detail how to get inside here, how to program the different modes, and how to alter the rate of those different modes. We did think about the safety of such devices during the design phase, so we decided to design this in a way that it will be a pass-through component. In case you experience a failure on board here, it will just pass through your normal brake function, which means you press your brake light lights up, there's just no effect. In case you do experience that failure, we do offer a warranty, so we have guys standing by in our support department that will take your call, email, Facebook message, whatever, and we'll get you replaced. And that's pretty much it. Now, I'm really excited to show you guys just how easy this is to put on and configure. So let's get started. The procedure I'm about to show you will apply to any tail lighting system for the FZ-09 that still has the OEM Yamaha connector. So whether you have retained the OEM lighting unit or upgraded to the TST Industries setup, the installation will be essentially the same. For the purpose of this video, we'll just demonstrate it on a bike that still has the OEM setup. So let's get going. First, we'll need to remove the seat. And then the next step will consist of identifying the hardware that we need to remove. These will require a 10mm socket. And then we'll flex this away and remove these 4 using an 8mm socket. With the seat latch bracket out of the way, we'll need to disconnect the main taillight plug that's in here. It has a lock tab here. We'll need to press it. The female socket is actually inserted into a locking geometry here on the sub tray, so it doesn't just come up. It makes the job a little bit more difficult. That's why I'm using a pick. You can also use a small screwdriver. If you have resilient nails, you could use those. Once this is out, we will need to actually disengage this guy from its captive geometry. And this is a little bit cumbersome, but I'll show you how to do it and then I'll explain once I take it out what it takes to do it. All right, so you can see here, it's a dart clip setup that protrudes through that hole and expands within it, and that makes it difficult to take it out. So you can actually, if you know that you're not going to be going back to any original setup and you don't care about this being captive here, we will not be replacing it in the same spot. So this dart clip is not necessary. You can pull up on this, get some diagonal cutters on there, and you could snip it off if you're having trouble removing it. I just like to go as least invasive as possible. So I'm patient and I use a pick. You can use a tiny little flathead screwdriver and you can actually compress these little winglets, and then I'll let you pop this out. All right, with that done, we can continue on to unrouting some of this wire here, and we will now plug the sub harness that came with your brake light modulator into the OEM setup here. As you push this in, make sure it clicks. Same thing on the other side by the tail light. And now you have all this bulk here, and we're about to add a little bit more to it. Now we'll plug in the modulator. Again, make sure it clicks. The modulator will be living in this area here with the grommet pointing down. I'll show you how to do that in a later step. For now, let's figure out how to manage this bulk here. We will need to first get this down in place here, get our larger 4-conductor modulator plug in here, and then this guy will have to come around like this, and the winglet will go under this geometry here, and we will distribute the rest of that wire under here. Maybe we'll just reverse these guys. I'll show you freeze frames in just a moment, just to make this as simple as possible for you. It's very, very crucial on this particular bike to get this routing right. Otherwise, you can't get your modulator in the right place. Let me show you how this is going to be held captive. Once everything is buttoned back up, this bracket here will press down on this connector and lock it in place. This guy has nowhere else to move, and this will be fixed in a position with 2 zip ties. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. I just want to note how crucial it is not to strain any of these wires. If you don't have enough length, stop and go back through the steps and look exactly at how I configured these wires so that you are also successful in your installation and you don't run the chance of damaging any of these components during your installation. So now I'll show you some freeze frames of the steps necessary to get this done, and then we'll move on to the other steps. At this point, it'll be necessary to reassemble the seat latch bracket back on. And now we'll get these screws back in. Please notice that these do have shoulders on them that have to center inside the holes that receive them. Don't just clamp them down. Make sure that as you bottom them out, you shake the plastic around and make sure you sink that through. Otherwise, you will just clamp the plastic piece and distort it permanently. The one remaining step now will be to configure your modulator housing in place here. You can either choose to program it and adjust it now, or you can actually do it later. Choice is yours. They come preset to a pretty nice rate, but it's pretty simple stuff. We'll get a zip tie around the wire bundle that runs underneath it. Get it set in place. Don't tighten it just yet. Make sure that you're able to move it up and down the line. Get the other zip tie, get it around the nice little channel provided for the zip tie. Get it around this wire bundle. And then we'll have to configure it like this. Please take a look at the tops of these hook receivers here. You want the body of your modulator to be kind of in line with an imaginary line between them two. So this is where we're going to fix it in place. And to set that angle, it will cinch down on the zip tie here. We just have to get it around all the plugs here. And now it'll be pretty good in there. There is a little bit of spring force from this coming up and pushing it up, but that's okay. As long as this is pointing down, it's not channeling water up in there. And as long as it's fixed in place, it won't come in contact with the seat on top of here. There's actually a void here that permits the mounting of this component in this place. And now just push that all back down, make sure all this stuff is set. And we can power this bike up and test it. All right, good to go. Replace the seat and the installation is complete. For mode selection and rate adjustment, we will need to get inside this capsule to access the electronics. These two Phillips head screws will need to be removed. What I like to do is unscrew them until they disengage from the receiving threads and leave them in the cap. Otherwise, it's pretty easy to lose them. If we pull them off with the cap, they are self-captive. All right, now we'll identify the parts here. This button is the mode selector, and this potentiometer is your rate adjuster. Clockwise is faster, counterclockwise is slower. Let's first do our selection of modes. With the brake pressed, press the button once to toggle to the next available program. Now the brake does have to be pressed so that the unit powers up, otherwise you won't be able to make the selection. If you find that you've pressed the button but the selection has not been changed, just do it again with the brake pressed. So now we will go on to the next program, press the brake once more, press the button once, and now you're in the next mode. Now we've switched twice, so pressing it one more time will return to the original mode that your unit arrived in. Now for rate adjustment, we'll be using the potentiometer. With the brake pressed, we can turn it clockwise to make it go faster, counterclockwise to decrease the rate. Now in brake alert, you will only have 9 flashes to make your adjustment, and then it'll stay solid. This one doesn't actually lend itself to really fast flashing at the top of the range. Bottom of the range is unusable, so I like to set it somewhere towards 3/4 to maybe 80% clockwise, and that does it for me. Now if we change to the next one, this one is pulsar, and this one just keeps on flashing, so I like to have it going pretty fast here. Choice is really up to you. If you want to explore the next mode, we have the intermittent pulsar. This one to me belongs somewhere close to the top of the range, makes it the most visible. But again, freedom means choice. The decision is ultimately up to you. Once you're done with your adjustment and you're where you want to be with all your modes and rates, replace the cap, turn the screws back in, and it really is just that simple. Replace your brake light modulator in the space that you decided to keep it, and you're good to go.